Welcome to day 11. It is Saturday the 23rd of July. It's 8:30 in the morning. I've just got back from taking Nelly for a walk. And on that walk, me and Oliver found a frog. In fact, I nearly trod on it. Check this out. And speaking of animals, there are a couple of bats that must live in a tree near my house because on an evening, normally when it's just about getting dark, they tend to swoop around in the garden and they actually swoop pretty close to me. As a result of that, I was on my phone able to get a very short piece of slow-mo footage of one of them, but it's not very clear and it was very dark. And when you're filming in slow-mo, it looks even darker. So sadly it's not clear, but here's the clip. Wasn't that fancy? No. Speaking of fancy, for breakfast, I'm waiting on a couple of crumpets because I just fancy a couple of crumpets. I've done my weight stuff. I've lost another pound overnight, but again, that could just be daily fluctuations. I got a good amount of sleep and I don't feel too bad. And in a few minutes, I need to go and pick Jack up from where he lives because it's the summer holidays. Just spilled me coffee all over the table. Now, if you don't live in the UK and you have no idea what I'm talking about when I say summer holidays, basically that's the same as a summer break or summer vacation. And in the UK, it starts at the end of July and ends at pretty much the beginning of September.
What are you doing?
I'm trying very hard to talk to the little people inside of there. Yeah. So it's around about 6 weeks worth of time when the kids are off school and they spend a lot of time with their parents. So obviously the parents have to take a lot of time off work. Speaking of kids off school, I found one of them sitting there on his iPad. What are you watching?
I'm watching my favourite YouTuber playing Roblox, Piggy.
Who's your favourite YouTuber?
Cookie, and her Roblox account name is Play Cookie Play.
Oh, okay. So I'm not your favourite YouTuber anymore.
Yeah, but
Wow.
you're my second favorite.
Wow. Probably because I don't put enough Minecraft videos of Oliver out on the internet.
No,
He's
it's only because I never actually get to see story ones. I never actually put them out.
Wow. Because I don't do story videos anymore and he's not in my videos enough. I feel like I'm always in trouble. I'm always getting told off. It occurred to me after editing the last couple of videos that the answer to one of my problems is fruit. So I've been moaning on about needing snacks and not having enough sugar, and I even talked about fruit, and it never occurred to me in all that time that the answer to, some of my snacking or some of the calories that I need or some of the energy I need just could come from fruit. Now, I never buy fruit in, I never have fruit in the house, mainly because I never fancy eating it goes off. But I think I fancy eating it now because I'm permanently hungry. But bad news, peeps. One of the reasons why this particular video part is particularly dark is this new light that I got for the GoPro is already completely dead. I've charged it, the light doesn't come on when I charge it anymore. When I press the button, nothing happens. I've held the button down, it doesn't work. And the last few times I've been using it, it's literally like I put it on the brightest setting when I'm filming myself, and it'll just drop down to the lowest setting randomly as I'm recording myself, even if it's been on charge like all night long. So I need to send that back and get a new one, which is really frustrating. So yeah, expect a few dark bits in the next few days with the videos. So I'm sorry about that. I guess the easiest way to make it light would be to sit in front of the window. Now, I've been to pick Jack up. He's here now. He's just grabbing some lunch. I've fed Oliver and myself. I just had one burrito today because it was my last wrap, and I haven't been for my bike ride yet. I should have done that before I had lunch, really, but I was really hungry, so I've had my wrap. I'm going to go on a bike ride in a minute, and then I've got the rest of the day to do very little. What should I do? Oh, cleaning. Oh, it's it's hoovering day again, isn't it? Saturdays. Oh, jeez. I've just got back from my bike ride and had a shower. I managed to go 5.5 miles. It took me just about half an hour, and my average speed was 11 miles per hour. And it wasn't too difficult today. There's a little bit of a breeze, but not a great deal. It was more against me on the way back than anything. But it was really enjoyable, apart from one thing. I don't know if I've got any on me now, but there seems to be a bit of a swarm of them tiny, tiny little black flies at the moment. When even just going out in the garden, you get covered in them. And while I was riding, I must have swallowed thousands because they were everywhere. They were all in my head, they were going in my eyes, they were going up my nose, they were all down my arms, all over my hands. I wanted to film it so I could show you, but I didn't want to stand still for a second. As soon as I get home, I literally dashed up into the shower to wash them all off because it's gross. And they're fine, but they're just tickled, don't they? They're itchy. So, yeah, I didn't really want them crawling all over. So that was fun. But other than that, it was a lovely bike ride. It's 10 to 5 and it's been a relatively lazy day. We took Nelly out, me and Oliver, around our usual walk through the woods. I've had my little GoPro light on charge all day and still absolutely nothing. The little LED that's supposed to come on when it's charging has not come on, so I guess that is properly dead, which is really annoying. And yeah, I haven't done any housework, so I guess I'm going to have to do all of that tomorrow, which is absolutely fine. But what we are going to do today for food is we're going to eat such bad stuff. Total diet ruiner. We're going to have a Chinese takeaway, which is something we often do when I got both my boys here, and I'm really looking forward to it, which does mean I'm going to have to work very hard next week and particularly tomorrow on being good, which is fine because I've been getting on absolutely fine, but yeah, I'm really looking forward to it. The food has arrived. It's ready, and what I've got to be really careful of now is that I don't overdo my portion size, because obviously normally when I get a takeaway I end up with a big old plate full, but this last couple of weeks I've been eating relatively small portions and I need to keep that up, not only because I will get full quicker now because I'm used to smaller portions, but also I don't want to overdo it. So here goes. Jack! Oliver! Dinner! So what do we got? We got some chicken balls. And that's just, it's not chickens. Balls, chicken balls. We've got some crispy shredded beef. We've got a bit of chow mein, otherwise known as soft noodles. Got a bag of chips because chips from the Chinese are just the best chips. Got a bunch of fried rice. Bear in mind we got loads, and Jack normally has this for breakfast tomorrow as well, so we're not going to eat it all now, don't worry. We got some sweet and sour sauce, and the best bit is the prawn crackers. Nice. Trying really hard to have a small pot. Ah! No! The best bit. Sorry, Jack. That's your breakfast all over the side. R.I.P. sweet and sour sauce. It's a little bit of amount, but it's much smaller than I normally have.
Is that day 8?
Day 8? Well, way past day 8, mate. On day 11, remember?
Oh, yeah.
I think. Can't remember.
We're having a Chinese.
You like Chinese? Yeah.
Did you have any, Nelly, or was it good? I didn't have any, I promise. Did you have fun?
Did you enjoy that, Jack?
Hello. What?
Did you enjoy Chinese?
Yes.
It didn't seem to touch the sides much. What's your favourite food?
I don't really know. I don't have a favourite food because it just changes from day to day.
You're supposed to say Chinese.
Oh, Chinese,
Oh,
right?
Good. Yeah, I'm glad I got you the right one. Jeez. What's your favourite food?
I don't know.
Chinese.
No, it's not Chinese.
It's my favourite food. What's your favourite food, Nelly?
It's Chinese, don't be Chinese.
Oh, have you had something like a Chinese? Shut up. Oof. Chinese not doing me much good. It's quite a substantial amount to put on over one day. Well, tomorrow will be better. It'll be fine. I'm not having a Chinese today, so, you know, it's all good. Don't worry about it. We're still on an overly positive trend downwards. Potentially. Jeez, I can't believe it. Wow. Stupid Chinese. It was quite a shock this morning when I stood on the scales and realised I'd put on somehow quite a lot overnight. I'd like to attribute all of that to the takeaway I had last night because, well, what else have I had? I had a very small lunch compared to normal. My breakfast was pretty much the same. We did our 2 Nelly walks and I went on a bike ride, so, you know, getting plenty of exercise and all of those things. If you look at my steps, I did a good amount of steps. I burned a good amount of calories. So it just goes to show you, lesson for me and a lesson for people at home that enjoy the takeaways, just how much damage a takeaway can do to a diet. And I know the portion size I had was quite large, but believe it or not, that was a very small portion compared to what I normally have when I have a Chinese. So, yeah, some stuff to think about there. Normally when you stand on the scales in the morning, if as long as you do it a similar sort of time each day and your bodily routine, should I put it, are relatively regular, it's a relatively accurate representation of your weight change day to day. However, depending on how much water you've drank, when you've been to the toilet, what time of day it is, and all those sort of factors can actually make your body weight vary by plus or minus a couple of pounds each day. Now, obviously mine was more than that, so there is some weight gain yesterday, but I'm not entirely sure how much. So it'll be interesting to go on again tomorrow and see what happens then. Oh, look, some of them are absolutely ready, and there's a few everywhere. But then you get minging ones like that one there. So I wouldn't pick them just yet, but we'll bring a bucket when they're properly ready. But there's quite a few coming ready now. They're turning really fast. Look at this little patch here. Many. Now, it'd be really easy to look at those results that I got today and take that as a big mental setback. It'd also be really easy to have a knee-jerk reaction to that and go, well, I better not eat much today and I better do extra exercise and push myself harder. And all that's going to do is just make life harder, make you tighter, and make this whole process more stressful and more difficult. So the way to look at it is to just realize that those numbers are relatively insignificant. As long as you know you're headed in the right direction, you haven't just completely lapsed back into where you were before, just continue what you were doing. We know we were on the right track. We know we were making good progress. We know we was losing weight and feeling fitter. So yeah, I'm not gonna react negatively to it. I'm not gonna take that as, oh, I better do all of this extra stuff to make up for it and get myself back on track, because I'm still on track. I probably just need to take that as a note to, you know, just maybe not eat quite so many takeaways. I'm currently in a live chat with a GoPro employee about the return of this light mod, which is still broken. I've had it just over a week. It's totally broken. First of all, they asked me if I tried turning it on, which obviously I have. And now they've accepted that it's broken. My options are buy a new one at full price, plus shipping to get one here within a week, or wait until late July for them to basically send me the paperwork to send this one back, which I then have to go and post myself, and then wait for a replacement, which they've said will be 7 to 14 business days, which 7 to 14 business days is ridiculous because that excludes the weekend. So you're looking at sort of mid to late July by the time I've got a replacement. So I was like, well, can't you just discount me the shipping on if I order a new one now? Can't you just discount me the shipping and just give me a refund for this? They're like, no, we can't do, we don't have an offer code for discounted shipping. I said, well, just, okay, I'll send this one back. When you've received it, just refund me the extra amount for the shipping. No, we can't do that. So at the moment, I'm telling them where they can stick their light mod, and that it would probably be the last thing that I ever bought from them. So not very happy right now. Okay. Update on the GoPro technical support. I very politely told the text person that I wasn't remotely happy with what they were suggesting and decided I'd try for the phone method instead. And to be fair to GoPro, I asked for a callback request. It said wait time of 7 minutes. They rung me back instantly. I had to go through a lot more hoops worth of sending them photos of the GoPro and the light mod and everything before they would sort of discuss what the issue was. But after I explained my issue with, you know, having to wait half a month for a replacement or paying the shipping on a refund, they said, well, don't worry about sending us the other one back. We'll just send you a brand new one and it will be there probably in about a week. So it's still slower than it would be if I ordered a new one online. If I ordered one online, I could have it here on Tuesday. It's Sunday today, which would cost me an extra £10, but it's going to be completely free for me to wait a week and get a new one. So overall, not a bad customer service experience. I just wish the text person hadn't been quite so obtuse about it. So yeah, fingers crossed we get a good result. We'll see next week, won't we? It's 1:15. We've had food. I've fed Nelly. I need to do the housework in a minute. But before I do the housework, I am going to do my core exercises because I need to do them. I don't enjoy doing those ones. I find them hard, but I'm going to do them anyway. For lunch, we had some chipolata sausages with a single hash brown, and some beans and tomatoes and a little bit of the spinachy rockety stuff that I've got, which was all right, actually. Not too bad. Didn't have a big portion, kept it small. And much as I mentioned earlier, I won't have a knee-jerk reaction to the Chinese and, not have breakfast. I totally forgot to have breakfast. So I haven't had any breakfast today, but I've got plenty of energy now from that lunch. So I should be able to do, hopefully, a decent core exercise routine. Let's find out. Substantially harder today than it did last time, which is probably not the sort of improvement I'm looking for. However, I probably made a bit of a mistake on that one in the way that I structured it. I decided rather than doing all sit-ups, then all press-ups, then all incline sit-ups, then all planks to alternate. So I went sit-ups, press-ups, incline crunches, planks, and then repeated that twice. And instead of putting a minute's rest timer between each exercise, I left it until I'd done the whole lot. So in between that, I only had 3 1-minute rests, and the rest were 30-second rests, whereas previously I had a lot more. So I don't know if it's the less rest time in between each one or what, but I actually managed to do all of them. But the planking and the decline or incline sit-up crunches in particular really hurt my lower back, and that's where I'm weakest, I think. So I need to look at doing some lower back exercises, maybe even doing a bit of yoga just to strengthen that part of my back, so that I don't, because it's not physically difficult. I'm not struggling with the actual exercises. It's just my back hurts while I'm doing it, and I don't think it's probably the best idea to push that too much, particularly on your lower back, because I don't want to do any damage. So yeah, maybe some yoga this week. One thing I am noticing, which is good, is my recovery time seems to be decreasing. Like, I'm not out of breath for nearly as long after I've done it. My heart rate seems to go down again pretty rapidly afterwards. So that's really good. I mean, I've just quickly had a shower and come downstairs, and I'm still slightly out of breath, I would say, but nowhere near what I was like when I was doing this on day one or, that first week. So I am happy with the improvements that's going on, but I really need to sort this core stuff out because, oh man, there's another week's worth of hair just from one room. Well, that's the downstairs hoovering and dusting done. I really need to tidy up my office because that's gross at the minute, and there's a few things need sorting out in there, but doing that hoovering, I don't know if it's because it's really hot again today, but that's harder work than my workout. Jeez. I've just finished editing day 10 of the vlog, and that's the one where I went through all of the YouTube comments and we talked about the James Clear habit forming thing, and In that, I rambled a lot. I recorded the comments, actually reading the comments. It was 43 minutes long originally. I read loads of just the nice ones. I read loads of other ones as well. I had to cut so much of that out just to make the video, a reasonable length. But editing it and listening back to what I was saying, I've got a few more points I want to raise about these diets, such as the high-fat diets and the low-veg diets and or low-carb diets and the Huel replacement foods, and also about the James Clear stuff as well, but we'll get onto the bad habits in a minute. I think one of my biggest issues with these high-fat, low-carb diets is that any new diet is effectively a theory. It's somebody that probably is experienced and well learned in foods and maybe is even a doctor that's gone, if you look at the properties of this and how it affects the body in this way, then if you do this and you do that, then this should result in this, which is probably far too much of a just generalization of that process. But hear me out. Over hundreds of years of a standard, if there is such a thing, human diet, which generally speaking is some form of meat, plant mixture, which generally speaking would be balanced if you go back to earlier days before we had all of this processed stuff, before we had these fad diets, before we had all of the methods in order to be able to make these new foods that we don't have. We've got hundreds and hundreds of years worth of data over billions of people, which means we've got a massive wealth of information that we can look at and go, we know this particular type of diet for these particular type of people works well. These foods are good, these foods are bad, and a well-rounded, balanced diet keeps people around long enough. Look at Italy. Without stereotyping too much, if you look at the Italian diet, it's the Mediterranean diet. There's a lot of vegetables in there. There's a lot of fruit in there, lots of tomatoes, lots of carbohydrates, tons of bread, tons of pasta, tons of rice, tons of all that sort of stuff, tons of cheese, lots of protein, lots of carbohydrates, and lots of good fats that come through things like olives and white meats like chicken and things like that. And the Italians are well known for being the people in the world that live the longest, healthiest lifestyles. So if you've got hundreds of years worth of information and data over billions and billions of people, that gives you a good idea. And it's reasonable to say the information coming from that is accurate because there's such a massive database. Whereas new diets, all of these Atkins diets and Huel diets and high fat, low carb diets are generally temporary. When someone starts a diet, not always, not everybody, but generally speaking, I would say, in my opinion, people start a diet and they maybe last a couple of weeks. Maybe they last a month. Maybe they last 6 months or a year. Maybe they start it in January after Christmas because they want to lose a bit of weight. Maybe they start it in spring because they want to get fitter for the summer. Whatever the reason is, generally speaking, these diets are very temporary and have a tiny portion of people actually doing it. Take this Huel health food, which is everything you could possibly want and more, it condensed into powder that you mix with water and drink instead of cooking and eating properly. What's the actual user base of that? I bet it's not even 1 million people. I bet it's probably less than 10,000. Maybe it's a little bit more than that, but the data size is tiny. You've got hardly anyone that's actually using it. You don't know if those people have been on it a long time. You don't know if they're doing it properly. You don't know if they're supplementing it with vitamin pills. You don't know if they're supplementing it with other parts of the diet and it's just an addition to it. You have no idea on any of that data because the data size is too small and it's too short. Instead of having hundreds of years worth of history, you've got a year or 2 years or a few months if it's something new. And the same thing goes for these high-fat, low-carb, or no-veg, lots of fatty meat diets. You've got no data there to say who's having it, how many people are having it, does it have longevity, can it last, does it have harmful issues going forward for the future? Are people that have been on this for 2 years suffering from bowel cancer or having liver problems or having heart issues, or are they more prone to heart attacks? None of that information is there. So yeah, whilst doctors or health professionals might tell you these things will help you lose weight, you're not getting a full picture. You might lose loads of weight. You might lose loads of weight quickly. But in my experience of life, there's no shortcuts, there's no easy answer. And if there was, everyone would be doing it. If there was an easy way out, all of the doctors would be going, hey, we can solve the world's food crisis by everybody doing this, or we can solve obesity by everybody doing this. And they want to solve those problems because, well, obesity is causing loads of problems with health services and obviously population and all that sort of stuff. So if these were genuinely brilliant things to do and had the data to back that up, we would all be doing it. So I'm not saying, again, I'm not a dietitian, I'm not a doctor, I'm not an expert, but in my life experience of what I've experienced, I don't think there's enough information on there to suddenly jump onto one of these diets and decide I'm going to do this for the rest of my life. I would rather stick with the huge data set of historical data and have a balanced diet and everything in moderation. Yeah, we know sugar's bad, so we cut down sugar. We know too much salt is bad, but not enough is also bad. We know certain red meats can be bad in too much, but everything is okay in moderation, providing you're regulating your portions, you're not just snacking all the time, you're not drinking loads of fizzy drinks, and you're exercising, then you can pretty much do what you want. Okay, that's rant number 1 over. The James Clear stuff, this forming bad habits, I did go into more detail on that, but again, I cut it down because it's very difficult to try and say what I want to say without it sounding like I'm on the attack against it. I think it's great. The whole theory of it, it's a nice theory, but I think this is one of those things, a bit like the intermittent fasting stuff, which I've done before, which people recommended, where it's not sustainable for a human. It'd be fine in the perfect world and for the perfect scenario, and if it happens to fit your lifestyle, then great. But for me, life changes way too regularly. Things come up all the time that stop you being able to do things. So if you've got, just to remind you, James Clear idea of forming habits is to say very, very strictly, I'm going to do this each day. I'm going to do this each day. I'm only going to drink this many coffees. I'm going to save $500 a month for my retirement. All of those things are great if you can do it. If you say, I'm going to save $500 a month for my retirement, and you can afford to do it, then that's absolutely great. But what if you can't? What if 1 month your car breaks down, or your boiler goes, or you need to do some house repairs, or there's an emergency and you can't do it all of a sudden 1 month? Even if most months or every other month you're getting it right, that month you are going to feel like you failed. If you've got a hard rule that you set yourself, even if generally speaking it's achievable, when you inevitably can't meet that expectation, you feel like a failure, or at least I would feel like a failure. And it doesn't matter, well, I got an excuse because I know this, I know it's unusual, and I know next month I can make it back again, so it's okay. And you can convince yourself of all these things. But deep down on the inside, you think, I failed this. Whereas trying to achieve something or aiming for something or striving towards something, I think it just sets you on a path for achieving it and completing goals and being happy and making progress without that fear of failure. So I guess I still very much dislike bright lines ways of forming new habits, but I totally get it that it would work for other people. I just think you'd have to be very secure in your lifestyle and in an absolutely perfect routine to be able to know exactly what goals to set yourself so that you don't break them, or so that you can achieve them. And I don't have that sort of lifestyle. Even though I work from home, I've got a set routine what I do, got a set routine with my kids. Still, even with all that, things just change from day to day, and I know I wouldn't be able to make it. And I'm just going to go through that list again, the list of 1 to 10 things that was written for my goals that I didn't write, by the way, but these are basically my bad habits. Number 1 was I eat a balanced diet, 3 meals a day, and don't eat unhealthy snacks. That's fine, but I don't want to say I'm not going to eat unhealthy snacks, because at some point I'm going to eat unhealthy snacks because I would like to. And if I set that as a goal, then I've already broken that goal just by thinking I'm going to have them at some point. Eating a balanced diet, yeah, okay, I can probably achieve that, but sometimes that's not going to be achievable if I go on holiday or if I go out with family. And yeah, these are one-off situations, but you're constantly going to be thinking about breaking these goals, and you're constantly going to be worried about or at least I would be constantly worried about failing. Number 2, as I discussed last time, I drink no more than 3 caffeinated drinks per day. For me, that's a ridiculous goal. In order to be even close to achieving a goal like that, I would have to set that at like 5 or 6, just to give myself plenty of headroom to do that. But if I set a goal saying I won't drink more than 6 caffeinated drinks a day, most days that's gonna be too many, I think. And that's like not setting my bar low enough. By saying I'm going to reduce the number of caffeinated drinks I drink every day, and knowing where I was before, I've got that awareness of what I need to achieve. But if I'm having a bad day, or if I just want to have more, if I want to go for coffee with friends or whatever, if someone offers me a coffee, I want to be able to say yes without worrying about it. I exercise 6 days a week, weights, floor, or long bike ride, which again, I'm going to try and do that, but I don't want to fail by missing a day. You know, I would rather go, I'm going to exercise more than I did. And that's easy to do because I didn't do any before. So if it's 2 days a week, if it's 3 days a week, it's certainly more than I was doing. So again, in order to set a goal that would fit me for that one, I would have to say I exercise 2 days a week. But that goal's not high enough. It's sustainable and achievable. It's not high enough. Hopefully I'm being able to explain this better than I did before. My point being, in order to make sure that I don't fail, I would have to set my goals too low, which would mean I'm not really achieving anything. The only way I can achieve things would be to set my goals higher, but then I'm going to be failing them all the time. And failing them's fine, apart from the fact that it makes you feel like a failure. So yeah, anyway, end of. Done. Okay? Jeez.